Thank you very much, and thank you for such an exciting announcement and effort, because this is a crisis, and what you're doing, I believe, is incredibly significant in reaching so many people. The Alliance for Excellent Education, of which I'm the president, has as its mission that every child graduates from high school ready for college and career and to take their place as a citizen. And so I'm going to lead off. The purpose in the time I have is I want to talk very briefly about the nature of the crisis. You know it well, but I want to just give a couple highlights. And then about some ways to talk about it, and particularly economically. And then finally, in some challenges reaching, and then talk about building how to build the public will. But I want to ask an initial question, because of just the extent of the situation. How many of you led last night with the story about the 7,000 kids that disappeared yesterday across the country, in every state, in every community, rural, urban, suburban? Who led with that story? Well, that's how many kids dropped out of high school yesterday. And before we go home this afternoon, 7,000 more are going to drop out. And so, and they'll do that each and every day. It comes to over 1 million children every year, somewhere between 25 and 30% overall. So think of those 10 ninth graders sitting in the classroom, between 25 and 30% of them, given where they are, sometimes 50% will not graduate from high school. That's the challenge. And so, and then when I said they disappear, they do disappear. Because they're not going to, most of them are not going to be participating in our workforce or in our society. So we know there is a crisis. We know what to do about it. We need to build the will. Why should we be involved? There is the moral imperative. That should be the leading one. If there is a school in your community that you won't send your children to, that's why you should be involved. That's why we should all be involved. But that's the moral imperative, and the moral imperative sometimes doesn't move people. So if I can't move folks with morals, let me talk about money a little bit. I got your attention. The Alliance for Excellent Education looks constantly at how do we get all people involved in this conversation and discussion and action that's necessary. Remembering that about 50% of the American public minimum have no contact with the public school system. We're too young, we're too old, we don't have children, whatever it is. So let me talk to you for a moment about the cost to our society. Did I get the first slide up? Yeah. This is the national cost of one class of dropouts to our society. The kids that did not walk across the commencement floor in 29, I believe, on this one. And so what we see is that lost wages, cumulative, over their working lifetime, that's $337 billion of lost wages, and that's a very conservative estimate. Household wealth, this is not house and homes, incidentally. We'll lose $74 billion in terms of deposits, annuities, IRAs, measures of personal wealth. In terms of what the taxpayer will pay for this class, it's an additional $17 billion in healthcare costs, because high school dropouts have much worse health outcomes than those who go on and get higher levels of education. And for those who do finish high school, remember the 30% roughly that will drop out, there's another 30% that will finish high school but without the skills they need for college and the workplace. They will go to community colleges and they'll need to take a remedial course. That will cost us, that's the taxpayer and the student incidentally paying twice for the same education. That will cost $3.7 billion. We have all this broken out by state. It's on our website for you. But now we've talked about cost, let's talk about the gain. And so here what we're able to do, and I want to thank State Farm, which supported our developing the economic model to do this. What we do is now we look at if you cut the dropout rate in half for one class, and this is a class of 2010, what does it mean for a state or for a metropolitan area? So for the state of Tennessee, since we're here in Nashville, the state of Tennessee, cutting the dropout rate in half for the one class will result, when they're fully involved in the workforce, $145 million in increased annual wages. one class. And they're going to be working, but because they have increased disposable income, they're now spending, they're now taxpayers instead of tax consumers. And so now what that means is, on top of them working, they create another 1,000 jobs. That's for one class. In terms of the Nashville metropolitan area, see if I can. Oh, there we go. Same thing, cut the dropout rate in half for one class, $36 billion in increased annual wages that they will earn, and they in turn will create 300 new jobs. How many mayors, when I was governor, let me tell you, if I could have gone out each year and announced 1,000 new jobs because of it, that's a major industry. And so that's what's at stake. Now, we have this information it's not been released yet, but it will be over the next couple of months. I hope you take advantage of it. We have it for every state, and we have it for 220 metropolitan areas. I don't think there are too many viewing areas. I can't provide you the information that you need to make the economic case. And incidentally, I just gave you 2 data points. We have 15 to 20, and all going all the way through post-secondary attainment. And so that's so in terms of the economic return on investment, and that's why we say the best economic stimulus package is a diploma. We're in an information age economy, and in an information age economy, there's only one currency, and it's education. So, now, I'm saying all this at a time of, it's a tough financial times. We're at what I call, in education, the GM moment. Now, I mean that for General Motors. It occurs to me as I look around to meet General Manager as well. But we're at the GM moment, and the GM moment is this. The GM moment was what General Motors faced 3 years ago when they looked and said, wait a minute, our product isn't very good. And on top of that, we've got a lot less money to continue making it. Well, that's what every state is facing right now. The product isn't what we know it has to be. That is quality of education for our young people. But at the same time, we have less revenues to do something about it. So what that forces us to do is to do business differently. To look and see what it is that works, what it is that doesn't work. And this is where you can play and have such an important role in helping that discussion, that interaction take place in each community. So here are some of the challenges, and if I could be so bold as to offer some suggestions. First of all is through your various forms of interaction and communication with your community, talking about what can be done, not talking simply about the problem. Yes, it's important that people understand that in your town, 3 high schools, there's a dropout rate of whatever it is. But let's move on from that, because what people want to hear about are solutions. And they want to feel some hope as well. So here's the problem, but here's also what can be done. To make the entire community see that the dropout problem is their problem. Our children, Sandy's and my children are grown. But it is still our problem. It's our problem because if I'm in business, two of our data points are how many more cars can be sold in the community, how many more homes can be purchased because of increased mortgage capacity. So it's my problem in whatever field of occupation I'm in. It's my problem because I'm fast approaching Social Security, and it makes a big difference whether those folks in the workplace are making $50,000 a year or not employed at all, because they're going to be paying my Social Security. So it's all of our problems. It's also, what is so important and what you can do so well is to build upon the success that's either being held in the community at one location and can be replicated elsewhere, or building upon other success. How many times I'm in an area that says, yeah, Bob, but daggone it, we've got a high percentage of low-income people, or we have a high percentage of English language learners, and we've got these unique situations. We've done an analysis of about 30 high schools, I call high schools of excellence, so that we can point you to at any time to a high school situation that looks just like yours. And they now have a 90% high school graduation rate and an 80 to 90% college going rate. And incidentally, you don't get on our list unless you're 50% free or reduced lunch. So you can, wherever you are, we got a school that can be an inspiration to you. And to show examples of what's working, I happen to co-chair with former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, the Digital Learning Council. 50% of high school courses are going to be online in 10 years. How ready are our communities to accept that? And so what is it that we need to be doing to make people aware of the opportunities? And I know I don't need to talk to this group about the power of digital learning. And also, as we were talking at the table, digital professional development. One suggestion I might make as well is to profile student voices. I have learned so much from listening to students talk about what their aspirations are, but also those students that are making a difference for themselves and for others. We were talking, the homeless student that I met in Albuquerque who managed to get herself into the University of New Mexico and is now counseling other homeless students, for instance. And these are powerful voices for all. So, and the important thing about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and all the entities that are involved with it is what you can do. And particularly, Pat, I'm so excited because what you can do over the next year to 2 years, you provide that reason-sustained voice that can take the time to focus people's attention. And you're not going to only do it for one newscast or one segment. You'll come back and back and back and constantly involve the community. This is a situation, incidentally, that every state governor is now dealing with in various ways. And so you add a powerful tool and ally to that. So I just want to thank you very, very much for what you have done. I want to thank you even more for what you're going to do. I happen to believe that the economic future, and I can back this up with data, I happen to believe that the economic future, as well as the moral future, of our country depends upon poor kids doing well. That's not just altruistic, but if you have 60% of all jobs today in our society require post-secondary, 90% of the fastest growing high-wage jobs require post-secondary education. We've got to get a lot more kids not only graduating from high school, but then graduating and moving on and succeeding in post-secondary as well. You are certainly a major organization that can make people aware of that and motivate them and help guide them to action. So thank you very, very much. And the person that's been guiding a lot of this action is speaking next, Juan Sepulveda.